guys, and welcome back to the sixth and final episode of the JL Resilience podcast. Today there's going to be a bit of a twist on it. I'm going to be the one answering the questions. I'm going to be the one in the hot seat, so to speak. I think it's important that people understand why I've set up the business, people understand why we're doing these podcasts, and to do that, Mark Turner, who owns Media Management, a company that I've been working really closely with, someone that's supported me massively throughout this little mini journey that I've been on. Mark's going to come in, he's going to ask the questions, I'm going to be the one answering them, not asking them, and then hopefully by the end of the podcast you'll all understand why I'm doing it, what I'm wanting to do, and what we're going to try and achieve. Over to you, Mark.
Yep, okay. So, in terms of why I'm kind of in Joe's seat today, and Joe's in the question chair, is I think it's important that Joe shares his story, and more importantly, the work that he's doing as part of JL Resilience. So when Joe came to me, maybe about 6 months, I mean, I've known Joe, we've known each other
since I was 16, 13 years ago.
Yeah, and we might touch on it in a short while. But when Joe came to me, probably around 9 months ago, and told me his story and how he wanted to share his experience with other young footballers or young athletes, it's something that we wanted to support. So he works alongside us day to day. We think he's doing a fantastic job with these podcasts, and hopefully we'll do more as time goes on. But yeah, so I'm asking the questions. Joe's in the hot seat. He's grilled five people over the last kind of couple of months, so it's only fair that it's his turn today. So we're going to get straight into it, and it's going to be football related. We'll wrap up a little bit. I'll let Joe wrap up at the end a little bit around kind of what's next and JL Resilience and everything else. But let's go back to Joe as a 14, 15-year-old. Tell me about it. Tell me about your experience at that time in football, and we'll go through your career in terms of until today. So talk to me.
So, started out at Doncaster Rovers, came out of grassroots into Doncaster Rovers Academy. Felt as though I'd had a really good time in academy football. I had good managers, I was at a good club, loved it. And then obviously under 16s comes the dreaded decision time for all young aspiring footballers, and it sounds big-headed, but I was always the player through the academies that I was like the captain of my team. If there were a little core of us that got promoted up at an age group or two age groups or whatever it is, you know how the system works, I was always within that.
Yep.
So coming up to decision time, if I'm being totally honest, I don't feel like I felt like anything other than getting a scholar.
Yeah.
I went into the room. I remember sitting there were Paul Wilson, the academy manager, Sean Mycroft, my under 16s manager, and Tom, the assistant, and we all sat in the room, and I'll be honest with you, I was kind of just waiting to hear like, oh, you're going to have a scholarship for 2 years, and ultimately that never came.
Yeah.
We kind of deliberated for it was a long meeting, probably too long to be honest with you for a 15-year-old kid to go through. Ended up saying it's going to be a no, and that was tough for me to take just for the pure fact of I wasn't expecting it. You get to a stage where a lot of kids nowadays they understand what's going on, etc. Whether they've been a sub or they're not playing, you kind of get a vibe for what's going to happen. And for me, it was always captain of the team, playing most minutes every week, and then to go in and just be like, oh, it's a no.
Yeah.
I just remember being like, it's probably still naive to it because I still thought I was as good, and I'd been fed a lot growing up, and always been, like I say, one of the main players in my team. I kind of just thought, well, I was gutted and upset.
And was that news delivered well? Nobody wants to hear that. I get. Nobody wants the news of sorry, kind of the journey ends today. But was the news delivered well, or
I think it could have been,
come left field?
Yeah, I think it could have been dealt with better, just because I think everybody around the club, and I think a lot of people would admit this, is I think most other parents, players thought that, I think Joe will get a scholar. If you would, Joe should be alright. And like I say, I even felt that myself. And I think because it was such a shock factor to me, And kind of how the meeting went, it wasn't like, "Hi Joe, unfortunately you're not going to get taken." There was still a little bit of deliberation in the room. The coaches was sticking up for me.
Yeah.
The academy manager was like, he wasn't in his wrong. He wasn't in it. You know, you can look at it from both sides. I'm older now. I look back at young kids, and he was still unsure at this time, and he'd had me for 5-6 years, and I was thinking.
In the room,
it was still very like I was, I was starting to tear up, and bottom lip were going as you do, and then ultimately after probably 10, 15, 20 minutes of deliberating, it was listen, we're going to leave it. I think there was an option, again I'm going back 13 years, but there was an option of coming back in a pre-season, something like that, but ultimately I'd not signed a contract. Just going in next day at school's hard because everyone knows it's your decision time, etc, etc, and because I was such a big personality, it was even harder for me to take. But still, I had a really supportive family, I had a really supportive coaching network around me that was like, "Nah, you'll be fine, mate, like you can go to Rotherham, Scunthorpe, wherever, and you'll get somewhere." I must admit, I even felt like that. But then, soon as I came out of it, it's like a cattle market. And again, I am going back 13 years, so things are a bit murky. But you go to these exit trials, you go to these trials, you're in changing rooms with people you've never met before. You're asked to play a game on a Tuesday night somewhere you've never played before, and you've got 45 minutes to make an impression on someone, or you're out. And the pressure that it gives you is so hard. And the whole reason behind kind of what I've been doing is, so many kids can't handle that pressure, and I think looking back on it now, I couldn't. And
I think so kind of rewind slightly before you then, as you put it, get put out in the kind of cattle market, which it is, and everyone starts receiving the news whether they're going to be taken on as a scholar or whether they're going to get the first pro contract or whatever that looks like. Probably like now, we're in January now, so that kind of, some leave it a little bit later, some a little bit before, but I suppose from your point of view, like, did you have a plan? Was you kind of like, if I'm not a scholar, I'm going to do X, Y, or Z?
No, I was never the brightest in the class. I was never failing in my GCSEs or anything like that. However, I treated school with sheer contempt. I was never interested in anything else other than playing football. It's all I wanted to do. I played a couple of other sports, but football at the time, we trained Friday nights, Sundays, Tuesdays, it was full on, and that's all I wanted to do. And because I'd kind of got myself into this headspace, and probably an over supportive dad, if that likes, because my dad was almost like, "Listen, you're going to be a footballer," but not in those words. He was never like deluded with it, but that's what I thought, so I never had anything to fall back on. And then I came out of the process, and it got probably back end of summer, where I actually wasn't getting a scholarship anywhere. It had not gone well for me. I struggled with the trials that I went on, didn't perform well enough, probably underperformed and undersold myself.
And just in terms of those trials then, so you've been released, you've been in the room, that decision's been delivered, there was a bit of deliberation. In some ways, it's sometimes better to have one shot to the head and have the news rather than bleed out by, "Oh well, we think, we're not sure," and that deliberation almost kind of adds to the frustration that, "Oh, if I'd have said this, or maybe if I'd have made a pitch to say I can play fullback, or I can't," so it kind of it dwells.
And I came out of Donny, I went to Rotherham, went to Scunthorpe, I went to local teams, I went up to Newcastle for a brief couple of weeks, which was a long shot. There was a Prem club at the time. It was more of an experience than a trial, but it never really clicked. It never really clicked for me. I never went in somewhere, and like I say, I probably didn't deserve a scholar at Rotherham or Scunthorpe when I went and trialled. I felt as though the pressure of, you've got one game to go and impress, or you've got 1 week to go and impress, of these new surroundings, it was something that I personally felt I struggled with for someone that's quite a confident character. I think I struggled with, and I undersold myself, and I didn't deliver at the time I needed to deliver. There was no backup plan. I ended up falling into college football, which were great, some of the best times in my life, which ultimately led me back into the game and kept me in full-time football. So forever grateful for that. But definitely when I look back at my youth career and I see some of the players that were in there, some of the players that have gone on, I should have got a scholarship somewhere. That's not anybody else's fault other than mine, though, and I would take the hit on that. At the times when I was in, under the eye, I don't think I did enough. Yeah. And that was always hard to deal with.
Would you do anything different now, in terms of when you look back, reflect? You know, you're a 28-year-old man. Do you think, oh, I wish I'd have done X, Y, or Z?
I don't think I look back on anything with my football and think I wish I should have done X, Y and Z, especially in my younger years, because I was just a young kid just going out and playing football. Yeah. I just wish that I could probably put a different head on my shoulders now in sense of nerves. And for someone that's quite a loud character, always the joker in the dressing room, I think sometimes that comes with a bit of like an act almost, because I am the one that gets a bit nervous for a game. I am the one that's a bit self-conscious. Think, oh, have I done enough there? I wonder if he likes me. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think if I could just go back and just be carefree and go for it, then that's the only thing that I do.
Yeah. Okay. And then we met. You came into a non-league club called Winterton Rangers that I was at that point assistant manager of. You was 16?
16, yeah.
16. And is that when we threw you in against Hull City?
Yeah, I came for the pre-season game. That was my first taste of men's football-ish.
So I'm going to give some props to Joe here, and I tell him this all the time. So I came across Joe 13 years ago, sorry. He's 16. He comes as a 16-year-old into men's non-league football. We throw him in a pre-season friendly against Hull City. You've got Giovanni playing, you've got Andy. They're all playing, aren't they? And you're a 16-year-old lad up front, and you were working your bollocks off, up and down, up and down, up and down. And even then, I turned around to the kind of my network of coaches that were around us, and we knew you were a player. It was fairly obvious. And then you kind of progressed through the non-leagues kind of system. I know you went into Scunny and you went around a few different places, but yet ultimately you ended up at Harrogate. Mm-hmm. So at this age you are
21.
Tell me about Harrogate, going into Harrogate, what that looked like, and I suppose your journey under Simon Weaver and everyone at Harrogate.
Yeah, so Harrogate's a bit of a touchy subject for me, just in a sense of it's like a breakup. I went to Harrogate, just a Conference North club at the time when I went, but an aspiring one. First season never really hit off, but loved it. Yep. I straight away had a bit of a rapport with the fans. Loved the club. It's a very family-like club. It's all very tight knit. There's not many members of staff. There's not many people. They use the same faces that you see. I kind of got on with everyone there and kind of fell in love with it straight away, to be honest. And then the second year we went full time. Got the promotion. I got the Player of the League. Went straight into the conference. And
right. So stop. I want to talk a little bit about this. So second year there, you've gone full time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're a full time footballer at this point. So you're in every day.
Yep.
You're living the life.
Yep. So we basically transition straight into a professional football team, and sometimes it's a bit hard to get your head round because you're playing in a league with part-time footballers, but that's your main occupation. That's your job. So you are treated as a full-time footballer, professional, and we're in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays day off, Thursday, Friday game, Saturday, and like I say, I felt I developed really quickly as a player in that second year. I had an alright season first year, but I was never what I was on the second year. And then
was that because of the full-time
I think routine? I think so, yeah. I've always been a bit of a sloppy bugger with my diet and stuff like that. I've always been keen in gym and stuff, but I think going full-time was the real, you're in it now, let's go for it, no excuses. Eat right, live right, all that stuff, and I felt fitter, felt stronger than most people I played against, and had a really successful time. Managed to get promotions, played a
Where
huge
were you playing? What position?
Left wing, left forward. Huge part in that in the season that we got promoted out of the Conference North, which was kind of the one that we needed to get out of to kind of to go for it and kind of propel up the leagues, which they ultimately ended up doing. and top goal scorer that season, most assists, player of the league, team at year, riding high. And within probably, we started the next season at the conference. We'd gone on this fantastic promotion party. We were fantastic. I was literally in the summer. I was speaking to a couple of clubs, but I'd signed a new deal at Harrogate. I was really happy. A couple of my close friends had signed for the club as well, and it was brilliant. I loved it. I skipped out of bed every morning to get to football.
Yeah.
It was that type of vibe, and I just couldn't wait to get there. It was fantastic. And then we started the next season. Had a little bit of an injury in pre-season, but ultimately got back in the team. Was doing well. Got pulled in. Got offered a 3.5-year contract, which for me was like icing on cake. Like, ultimately everyone's aspirations to play Football League, and mine was, and I never made any bones about that. I always wanted to play Football League. I always wanted to play as high as I possibly could, like every footballer should do.
Yeah.
You want to reach your level. Everyone has a ceiling. You want to reach your ceiling. And then I signed the 3.5-year contract, and within probably space of a couple of months, I'd gone from being main man to squad player. Out of the squad. Don't know who's to blame. Maybe me. Maybe management for not picking me. I don't know. In football, I never like to point fingers. There's always something that you can do better. Probably a bit bittersweet. My thoughts of the situation, and ultimately, I didn't deal very well, and that's on me. And this is again why we go back to helping people deal with stuff. I never dealt well with going from being top goal scorer to not playing. And the way I look back on that is, I probably had too much of an ego. I probably believed too much in my own hype at the time, and needed probably to realise and reined in a little bit. It's Conference North football. Calm myself down. In my head, I thought I might have been this superstar, and not to that extreme, because I was never. I'm probably doing myself out there. I was never that guy.
But
confident, yes. Arrogant, don't think I was.
But was you in your pomp in terms of like?
I felt good. I felt strong. I felt fit. I just wanted to play football, and at any club I've ever been at, and that's one thing I'd never lie about. Or I've always just wanted to play football. I hate sitting on the bench. Every manager that's probably managing me probably thinks he does me head in. He's first one to knock on door if he's not playing. But I'd rather drop down levels and play every week than try and be somebody and just be a squad player, because I love football. Football's precious to me.
Yeah, but also, Joe, that's not just that. When things are going well, it happens to me in the business world. Sometimes you just everything comes together. You get that big deal. You manage to negotiate, a new contract. It can be anything, and sometimes you just feel you're in that rhythm, and you feel a little bit like walking on water. Is that when did you have the England Sea Corp around that period?
So the England Sea Corp was the earlier in the season, just as I was joining Harrogate. That had come from the back of a bit of a successful time at Alfreton, which obviously led me to Harrogate. But all exactly what you just said there. When you play, towards the end, I probably wasn't even playing well in that Conference North season, but I was the one that the ball would fall to in the box, so we'd get the penalty and I was the penalty taker. So constantly just chucking a little notch on, you know what I mean? Like, listen, I know one thing I am is I'm quite honest, and I know my limitations as a footballer. I'm not a tricky winger. I'm not rapid. I don't breeze past play. I'm not easy on the eye.
What are you then?
But I think I'm an effective footballer.
Yeah.
I think a full season, I'll chip in with my assists and I'll chip in with my goals, whether I'm playing central or out wide. More now as a 28-year-old man, I've been playing a lot of central, been playing your defence. I feel like I affect in a positive way on the team, and I'd always stand by that. I was never going to be, God, look at him, he's, scouts come and watch and look at me. That's not me. It's not what I am, and that's why ultimately I have a ceiling on the ability that I will think I'll reach, and have reached it, or trying to get back to it. But ultimately, looking back on that now, if I could do anything different, I'd probably just tell myself to grow up a bit more sooner, and have a more open mind to, I'm on the bench, I'm gonna make an impact today, and be a professional and be the decent pro that you should be. Not that I was ever a bad pro. I think as soon as I was on the bench, I kind of went into this.
Well, let me dig into that a little bit then. So in the same way when you're 16 you've had your bad news, you know, you've got to deal with it. The news, you're older now, you're 21, you're 22, you've had a great season, you think you're walking on water, the fans love you, you're a character in the dressing room, you are, you know, King Dick, really. Tell me the feeling, and won't just be for you, other people will be able to resonate with this, but you think you're good enough for that team, you think you should be in the starting 11, and all of a sudden you're out. And was it you're on the bench and a squad player, or was it a progressive thing, or was you yo-yoing in and out?
Yeah, I think I yo-yoed a bit. I think some weeks I'd start and I'd do well, and consistency were probably a bit of a factor in why I kept dropping out. And I'd have good games, I'd have bad games, like anyone. But ultimately, the top and bottom of it is, and I'm probably still the same now, but a little bit more controlled in my manner with way I do it. I'm a very emotional person when it comes to football. I'm a sore loser, win at all cost type player, and I still think I struggle to watch football and not play it. And you know, and I always thought like I could be on bench for Man United. I'd be like, wow, I hate watching. I hate sitting on that bench and seeing somebody else thrive in your position, or you know what I mean. Like I am a big character, big personality. Flirt between too cocky sometimes, I think, and too. But that can be sometimes a smokescreen as well.
And in terms of those encounters, then, how would that news be delivered? Would there be a squad list on the wall?
Yeah.
Would you be pulled into the manager's office?
I think.
Could you tell with how training was going in terms of being involved in the phase of plays and the set piece? Okay.
I think every player you start to get a gauge just from they do a phase of play, and the person in your position's on the more of the pitch than you are, or you're in the other team. They, you know, sometimes call it a bit of a Joey team, don't they, with bibs on, and chuck up bibs to 11 and then first 11, and you kind of get a gauge if best players are in which 11. And so I think I did it there. Simon Weaver were always fantastic in that respect. He never shirked. He always told you. He always pulled you in on a Friday and told you why you weren't playing. And like I say, I don't think it's anybody's right or anybody's wrongs. I just struggle to deal with, I'm not playing 90 minutes. I remember, you know, I'd probably score in a game and get brought off after 70 minutes and my head would be gone.
Yeah.
There's 20 minutes of football to play, and it sometimes looks as though it's coming from an arrogant, big-headed place of like, you're above stuff, but it's not. It's from I'm obsessed with football. It's my life. It's what I want to do. I don't work all week to sit on bench and watch somebody else play. I'm an emotional guy. I want to play football, and that's where it came from me. And that was ultimately the beginning to an end, because I was not good enough at the time for the first 11 at Harrogate, and I couldn't deal with not being. And that's something I look back on.
Was you showing that then?
Yeah,
was sulking?
I think so. I hurting.
Yeah.
Hurting more than sulking, I think. I don't think I'm a bad pro. I don't think I'm a bad egg in a club. What I do think I did is I probably showed raw emotion because I was suffering from being like, I don't know how to deal with this. I don't know how to deal with I took a lot home. Took a lot behind closed doors of just like, I'm not, we know we get squad on a Friday night. There's no point talking to me Friday night if I'm not in it. Where Mrs. took a lot.
It would. You're not the type where, because some can almost kind of see it as a job and like be like, look, that's fine. I'm not in the squad. I'll go out for the weekend, or I'll go sit in the stand. And
no, I can't. That's one thing I've always said about football. I play football to play football, and I love football. Now I'm a bit older and I understand that, you know, there's other jobs that come within it. You know, you can be a big character in a dressing room, you can be a leader, you know, supporting younger players, and that's something that I've started to do now more, and I see myself in that role more. So I probably won't have the same raw emotion as what I have as a younger man.
Yeah.
But ultimately, for me, the nail on the head is, I want to play football. If I'm not playing, I'm not happy, and that'd still be now. If I'm at Kidderminster Harriers now, but if I wasn't playing at Kidderminster, I'd be asking questions why, and if it went on for too long, I'd want to play. I want to play football. You know, a man's career or a woman's career, they don't last very long.
Yeah.
You know, everyone retires around 34, 35, 36 if you're lucky. So I've probably only got 5 years left at the top level I want to be at, and I don't want to waste any.
Yeah. Okay, so So in that Harrogate period, that, as you say, that promotion year, that first year in the kind of conference, is there any regret? Do you look back with fond memories? That particular time, before we talk about, you know, the latter part?
My biggest regret with Harrogate is not getting my head down and knuckling down, because I think I always back myself to think I had quality and I've been an effective footballer and think I could add something to the team. Whether I'd reach my ceiling with Harrogate and they were better players, I don't know, but I just think if I could go back now, get your head down in training, don't show as much raw emotion, don't give in, and you'll get another chance, and then it's up to me to take that chance. Whereas my kind of coping mechanism with not playing was almost giving up, and it's the total wrong thing to do. I remember being in training sessions, not trying as fully as what I should have done, and that was all because, again, I was suffering probably off the pitch with not being. Oh, well, you got a weekend, you know, people you say, oh, I'm going to come watch that day, oh, don't, but I'm not playing. Yeah. I've gone from being, oh yeah, I'll leave you 2 tickets and I'll probably score that game. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It had gone full circle, and I just didn't know. And because it happened so quick, it was in like a 12, 18 month period where I'd gone from top goal scorer, probably one of the first names on team sheet, to finding myself stood up in bloody shed on top at stand watching game. Yeah. It was hard.
Yeah, okay. And I think, you know, without unashamedly giving media management a plug now, but this is what attracted me to you becoming involved with us. So we're representing players now, and we're accelerating in that market quite quick. But I think it's really helpful for you to be thrown to a 21-year-old who's maybe not in a squad or maybe being left out, and for you to go, hang on a minute, I just want to share where I was at this moment in time. Yeah. And again, I think this is why we're working together, this is why JL Resilience is important, and I think you sharing those experiences of that period, the highs, but also the lows, and make sure that, you know, they keep constant in terms of the professionalism, where they're at, and all that kind of. I just want to say that in terms of where we're at in terms of our relationship.
Yeah, of course, and I think, like I say, it could be quite easy for people to sit on here because football's always got 4 or 5 different stories to it, you know, then you kind of never know where the truth lies. But it could be quite easy for me to come in here and sit and go, oh, I didn't play because such and such or such and such. The top and bottom of it is, you know, I struggled to deal with where I was at that time, and I think it had a hindrance on my ability and my career. If I'd have stuck it out and got my head down and knuckled on, would I have got another chance? Would I have proved to Simon Weaver at that time, or whichever manager that I played under, that were good enough? Would I still be at Harrogate now in Football League? I don't know. I don't know. It's Football League.
And that, Joe, is about taking accountability. As a player, taking accountability of the situation you find yourself.
And I think at the time I struggled to do that. I think it was kind of, again, use the word quite a lot, the last 10 minutes, accountability and the smoke screen to it. I was almost just trying to fight fire with fire and blame game, the blame culture, and there must be an agenda. And sometimes now I've come out of it and I've not got the raw emotion behind it, and because football is so precious and it's your career and you want the best and it's never your fault. You know, footballers are like that. It's never their fault. I've looked back on it now and it's given me the kind of little business model of what I want to move into and what I want to help with, and helping people. You know, football gives more negatives than positives, and that's a fact. Unless you are Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi, but they'll have still had tough times in their career. Football gives more negatives than positives, and it's about trying to deal with those negatives to turn them into a positive. If I'd have dealt with that negative a little bit better at Harrogate, they still might have been the same outcome. He might have still been transfer listed, might have been told I'm not good enough, I don't know. Or it might have been, you know, Joe's great around the dressing room, he's a good squad player, he can be, and I might have ended up churning another 100, 150 games out. I'm not sure. No one will ever know that. But that's where I am at with that. And like I say, I'm still close with everyone at the club and stuff like that now.
So still at Harrogate, still contracted, out of favour. What's your options? Sitting in the stand?
Yeah, so I had a conversation with Sam Weaver and I kind of expressed, listen, I don't want to sit, I don't want to watch. Blah blah blah. Circulated my name. I went out on loan. Went to Stockport County, massive club. They was in the same league. In fact, I think at the time, were they both National League clubs.
Harrogate, you're still there. You're still under contract.
Mm-hmm.
Are you in the stands? Are you at home?
Well, I was lucky enough for security reasons to sign the big contract. The not big money, the big long term 3.5 years. So I had that security put away to one side, and I went to Simon, kind of expressed the way I was feeling. We agreed it were good for me to go and get some games somewhere else. So I went to Stockport County, massive club at the time, both in the National League. I think Stockport were higher up in the ranks, maybe pushing for promotion at the time when I went. It was early October, late September, I think. And spoke with Jim Gannon, loads of positives about the club. Massive club, huge history around it. Gonna play. Because I'd had the time at Harrogate that I'd had a kind of I just showed the give up attitude to it. I'd probably not in the right physical condition I should have been in, probably wasn't fit enough, not played enough games in the last month, but probably not done enough away from the game to help myself and put myself in the best possible position, just relied on ability. And I think I had a massive wake up call when I went to Stockport, and I went in, great dressing room, met some friends for life in there, they were fantastic. But I remember playing first game and I was blowing out my arse, to be honest with you, and I was in bad condition physically.
Same position, left wing.
Left wing, yeah, Red Hot Day, I think we played Aldershot or someone like that. And it was a bit like, I think even Jim said in his thing, Joe will be good for us, we just got to get him some match time. And to be honest with you, I think it was, that's why I always say it's a bit like a break-up Harrogate, because I think it gave me an hangover for a couple of clubs.
Yeah.
I'd gone from everyday new calf woman, new physio, everything was just. This car school I had at Harrogate, I had 5 best friends. They weren't football friends, they were best friends.
And you were at Stockport, you were still in touch with Harrogate lads?
Yes, almost like involved in car school group chat, and like I say, it was nothing against Stockport, I had the fantastic friends there as well, but it was like, I just kind of always wanted to be back there, but kind of giving it I'm not bothered. And anyway, went to Stockport. The fans are quite vocal there. Great fans.
On your back?
Yeah, on my back. Probably rightly so.
Yeah.
Did I perform well enough? No, not at all. Towards the end of it, I started to find my feet a bit and woke myself up a bit. Played a bit of a different position and started to enjoy it the last 4 or 5 games. That I was there, but yeah, tough 3 months mentally, football wise, didn't enjoy it, and that was nothing to do with Stockport County.
Yeah,
that was just because I just missed being in Harrogate, and I just wanted to go back 2 years back to Conference North.
3 months comes to an end at Stockport. Do you go back to Harrogate?
Yeah, no, a really weird situation, to be honest with you. So I'd got back in the team at Stockport and I were doing quite well, and I think Jim Gannon had loosely said, listen, let's extend this till end of year. Right. Not sure fans would have been overwhelmed with that news, but I thought I was winning people over and I was starting to play a bit better. Nowhere near what I was capable of, but better. It started poor, and I was out walking my dog one night and I get a phone call off my agent, and he said, listen, Stevenage in a bit of a relegation fight in League 2. Graham Wesley's, would you want to do it? Long story short, Graham Wesley rings me. Do you want to do it? Blah blah blah. I think I had 1 more game at Stockport to play, and then my loan was up. I went, spoke with Jim, told him I wasn't going to re-sign. I was left out of the squad because of obviously there was no point in me playing.
Yeah.
And then went to Stevenage. The chance that kind of. When I started playing football at 7-year-old, I always dreamed of being a Football League footballer. I used to ball boy for Donny Rovers, and all I wanted to do was play Football League, and it was just a massive thing. Football League were just trained into you. So the opportunity came, bloody ran down to Stevenage. Yeah. Ran down, couldn't believe it, couldn't wait to get there, and absolutely loved my time there. Again,
How long were you there?
I signed for the 1st of January pretty much, as soon as the window opened, and then went throughout that season, and then COVID hit, and I can't remember exactly when COVID hit, but we remember it were all coming on the news, and I started to get a bad feeling about it because it were accelerating, stuff were getting cancelled, big events were getting cancelled, and then we just got told one day at training, like, listen, grab your boots, head home.
Yeah.
We think it's going to get canned at the weekend, and then we'll be back in touch. We've got some programmes home and stuff. But then it were a tough, because I wasn't saying I'm playing every minute of every game for Stevenage, but I was certainly giving myself a chance to start games, and I'd had an alright time there. I really, really enjoyed it. The club was not in the place it's in now. It was a relegation battle. They weren't winning many games, but to play in the Football League and get the experiences
Absolutely,
that I did,
yeah.
I absolutely loved it. And to be honest with you, it were like world were against me when pandemic hit. And it, for everyone, it was, but there are a lot of people, lost family members, all that type of thing. So it were a difficult time for everyone. But I just kind of started to get I love football again. I got that feeling. Couldn't wait to meet my car school to get down, and then it was just season's done.
Yeah.
And then that were kind of your Football League done. I'd not done enough at Stevenage, who were ultimately bottom at league, for someone to get Joe Leasley and put him in our team.
Yeah.
So we're back to Harrogate.
Yeah.
Still contracted there.
So where's the pandemic in this?
So the pandemic was still going on, but we'd kind of gone back out into, you're allowed back into sport, and Harrogate had got into the playoff semi-final of the National League. I think I'd only played probably 10 games in that season for Harrogate. Went on loan to Stockport, went to Stevenage. Pandemic had finished, starting to fizzle out, and they'd opened up to behind closed doors games, and they wanted to finish this Vanarama National League season because the playoffs had been decided. Blah 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 blah. Anyway, Boreham Wood, Harrogate, semi-final. I'd been back in training with Harrogate for a couple of weeks, kind of cleared air with everyone at the club.
Okay. Yeah.
It was good. Had a good open and honest chat with Simon. He just said, listen, come in, train, give everything. Never say never. I was really fit through lockdown. Stevenage, we were constantly training, because we thought the season was going to get started again, so we were constantly training at home, so I felt really fit. Went into Harrogate, I felt flying in the running, I felt really good playing left back, up and down. I felt like, bloody hell, I've got a chance here. He named the team for the first playoff game, and I was on the bench. He said it was testament to how well I'd done when I come back, blah blah blah. They'd not got much defensive cover.
And just on that, right? There's something nice about this, and I'd not like worked this out before, but sometimes in football and in life, people can fall out, and you can never put it back together.
Football's not personal, and I think that's one thing that now I look back on it, it's never personal. It's a job to do. At the time it felt personal. I felt, like I say, I was throwing fire at everyone. It was not me, it must be, I ain't done out. And it's not personal. We came back, we had a good open conversation. It was like I'd never left. I'm having a laugh with all the boys, some of the senior pros there, great, really good time. Got back in the squad, unused in the semi-final, but Wembley comes. We're on this journey. My missus is about to drop with baby, and we're going to Wembley, and I'm thinking, boyhood dream to play at Wembley. Is this going to be like a bloody fairy tale story? Not played all season from I come on and we get a free kick. You know what I mean? Last 2 minutes. All this was going in me at night before. Couldn't wait really, and the boys were fantastic on the day. Battered Notts County, to be honest with you. An unused sub, but got the medal, got the promotion, was around the party. Bittersweet, and I know that sounds really like bloody hell, Joe, the club got promoted, but again, back to the beginning, I love playing football. Wembley is an absolute dream for me. It's 6 inch away. I'm here warming up, it's there. Games going on. We're behind closed doors, so that took a bit of a gloss off it, but to never actually get on and say I've played at Wembley was like so hard to take. Fantastic for the lads, great club, all that, but I remember just being, I went home that night, couldn't drink at the party because my missus was due to give birth. She went into labour the next day. I missed the open top bus parade because she was giving birth to Oakley, and this is going to probably sound bad and people will judge me for it, but I remember being there with little boy. A couple of days later, people coming around visiting him, and I just remember feeling gutted. I'd not got on at Wembley, and still to this day I was just always like, just give me 15 minutes, Simon, or give me 2 minutes, just let me have a little run up it. And that were hard, and again probably took it too to heart. I probably had no right to be in that squad.
Yeah.
There were lads that had played 30, 40 games that season. I played 10, and I got in that squad, and I was just so sad and gutted that it never happened. And I think, again, a little, because I am emotional and because it does affect me this way, it probably gave me a little bit of an hangover of a month or so to be like, just wanted that opportunity, which ultimately then led on to where Harrogate completely nailing coffin finish for me. I went back that pre-season. We just got promoted into Football League. Felt really good, really fit.
Talk to me about this, because again we're going back to, when we talk about resilience, being released as a junior, going through the highs and lows of one season good. Now you're in the Football League. Now you're reporting into pre-season training, and you're thinking, right, here we go.
Well, I'd had the experience the year before with Stevenage, albeit brief. I'd had an experience, and there were certainly games for Stevenage where I felt I was more than capable at the level. I still believe now I'm more than capable at that level, and I'd argue that point with anyone.
In terms of affecting a game
at League Two, I still believe I've got something to give at that level. Even at 29, still young, I'm not old.
We know, people we speak to kind of.
So go back to Harrogate, first day, and it became first last day, to be honest with you. I went in and everyone's getting the kit handed out, and again, nothing, there's no real story behind it. I went in, all getting this kit out, and Rach, the physio, said, the gaff wants to see you. And it's never good, is it, straight away? When the gaff wants to see you at a club, it's always like the bullet in it. So I went in, and he was open on it. He said, I've just signed a left winger. He just literally put pen to paper up there. We've already got a left winger. We're getting a lad from Sunderland on loan. Blah, blah, blah. We've got Jack Muldoon who plays out there. There were loads of options for him, and to be honest with you, you're just not going to be in my plans.
Good news delivered well?
Yeah, he delivered it well. It were fine. It was just another one of those. I'd got myself into a headspace of, right, I'm back now. I'm back at Harrogate. It's day one. I cannot wait to get going. I've got my car school back. Me, Belly, Lloydie. We're travelling in. I can't wait. Gaff wants to see you. It's a no from me. I still had 2 years on my contract, so again, financially Harrogate were fantastic. Never ever tried to take any money away from me or my family. That was all taken care of. But the realisation of COVID hit him, games within that 9-month period before, I'd probably not done enough anywhere or played enough for people to be jumping out the chairs for Joe Leasley. And I couldn't understand why. I didn't get it. I was like, they'd put a circular out. I was getting.
How old are you at this point?
27, 26. The circular went out. I was getting Conference North teams. To be fair, I had pretty much every Conference North team were interested. A couple of down south conference teams, but for a young family and the money, it were never going to be feasible. So, but I couldn't get in my head that. I'm attached to a conference club, now Football League club. I've just played Football League in my last contract, playing contract as a team, my last appearance, to back down to Conference North. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not a football snob. I've always said I'd drop down levels to play, of course I would, but I was thinking, I want to be a footballer. I want to stay as a professional footballer. I want to be, and I couldn't get my head round doing all that and going back down into the part-time system and stuff. And it probably wasn't until 2-3 months into that season where I went in everyday training with Harrogate, running, doing bits on my own. I don't think I even registered as a player at the club, which was hard. And there was no way I could play a game. I could be best player in training, and I still don't think I'd have got my chance, which was tough.
Yeah,
it was the door shut. You need to move on now.
How was the relationship?
It was all right. Yeah, it was all right. Me and Simon. It were bitter from my end because I was like, I'm so close to achieving something. Or so close to being involved in something, and I'm not now. And
Harrogate's your club, like, in your mind, it's your club.
I didn't want to leave again. I'd just come back. All the lads were great.
Knew the fans.
I knew deep down how rubbish it was away from the club, and because of my attachment with the club, I had great laughs with the assistant manager, the goalkeeper coach. Me and Simon had really good dialogue with each other throughout my contract, and it was just sad that it were coming to an end, and to be honest with you. And then
And we went to watch Toby Sims make his debut, didn't we, the other week? And I was obviously with you, and we went and watched, and even the fans coming up, photos, asking how you are, the ground staff.
Yeah.
You are well, you know, you're well thought of.
I loved my time there, and I'd love it to have been longer. And it were a club that you just felt at home. Do you know what I mean? And I got a couple of loans to Boston United, and then ended up signing there permanent for a year and a half. And I still think even at Boston, I had some good times playing at Boston. I captained the club. And,
who was this under, Joe? Who was the manager?
Craig Elliott. Yeah. Craig Elliott gave me a bit of not a lifeline, but was like, come on, play for us, get your mojo back. And I don't think I ever got back into the swing of things, to be honest with you, for a while. I want enjoying training on an evening again, and having a young family and the pressures that all that comes with, having to work. I went and did some work coaching again, and it were all a bit frantic, to be honest with you, and I don't think I enjoyed it, and I don't think I displayed the best version of me for Boston.
Were Boston
consistently
good with you?
Enough. Yeah, Boston great with me, great club, I enjoyed it. Fans, I were a bit like Marmite. I think some liked me, some hated me. But again, I probably didn't consistently perform at my level. I showed glimpses of it. Probably didn't consistently perform enough to give the best account of myself. However, I didn't. I think looking back now, I'm not attached to Boston. I didn't enjoy it.
You can look back after the event.
And whether it were I were playing bad or not, or my rapport with fans, I remember taking my family. I walked out with my little boy, and I got subbed off in a game, and the fans cheered me getting subbed off, and my little boy's in the stand, and my missus were there, and he's bloody 1.5 years old. He didn't know, but it was still that was the kind of relationship I had. Sometimes good, sometimes. And I'd never enjoyed it fully, I don't think. I loved the car school that way. That car school at Boston was as close to the Harrogate one as it could possibly get. Got great friends there, we bring them into the office still now, don't I? But when I look back on the actual time from football to fans to club, great fans, loads turn up. I just didn't feel emotionally there. And it probably wasn't until I went on loan in October this year. I went on loan to Darlington. A new manager had come in at Boston, and he was kind of said, it's a difficult one for me, but we're gonna ask you to move on. I don't know the politics behind that, to be honest with you. I don't know if it was me, I don't know if it was the club, I don't know. I don't feel like I'd done it wrong. I'd been captain of the team. But even that, at 28-year-old, told you not wanted again, it's hard. And this is what, again, we go back to it all. Rejection at any point in your life is hard. And at 28-year-old, I probably had the same mindset as when I did when I was 16. I went home, I was sad.
Just on that, because this story's powerful, because it's powerful for someone who was listening who plays football or doesn't play football. And there's some highs, albeit not the high in terms of playing at Wembley, but you're nearly there. You can say you was in the squad, you've made the Football League, but there's a hell of a lot more rejection.
There's more negatives. I touched on it earlier. There's more negatives than there is positives, and in my career certainly there has been. And that, whether that's because I tried to punch above my weight, level wise, I don't know. There's loads of narratives that you could spin on it.
But have you ever gone home to your missus and gone, fuck it, I can't be back, I can't do this anymore. I'm just going to go and get a job.
We spoke about it in the summer. I got an offer from an Evo Stick team, a really good offer, a guy I know quite well, and I sat and we were on holiday, and we was like, I'd had a bad knee injury, and I remember just thinking, is it time that I just went and got a job and just played with a smile on my face and go and enjoy it, and just rock up on a Thursday night and play, and no stress. You don't have to be a persona, you don't have to try and be the big I am. You're a big character in the teams that you played. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I remember having a conversation with Duncan Milligan, who works in the office, and Dunks was like, no, it's not happening. You're way too good. You've got too much about you. Signed the bloody contract with Boston. I didn't have much offers in the summer. I was in a bloody knee brace all the way through pre-season. He said, sign the contract with Boston and go and prove to everyone when you get fit how good you can be. Felt like I'd done that to a point at Boston, got the captain's armband when Skipper got injured. felt a part of something. Paul Cox gave me a bit of confidence, and then the new manager came in at Boston, and like I say, kind of just petered out. I moved, and then I think this has been one of the turning points in even my mentality, to be honest with you. And I know that sounds mental to be a 28-year-old man, but I had a conversation with Alan Armstrong at Darlington on the phone, and he said to me, "Come and play for me. You'll enjoy it. I can't promise you every game, every minute, but come and play for me, and I promise you'll enjoy it." And I went, and within 2 weeks of playing for that club, I just love football again. I love football. The fans, fantastic, all on board with me. I was playing well.
And what did Alan create an environment?
Yeah, no pressure environment. We know what you're about. We know who you are. We know what we're getting from you. You don't have to be anything. You just go and be you. Go and enjoy yourself. Mark Beck were there, one of my close friends when I was at Harrogate. Jake Lawler, I knew loads in dressing room, and it just fit straight away. I just loved it. Ended up playing pretty much every minute of every game there, and I absolutely loved my time. And then it led me to where I am now, and I got a phone call from Kidderminster Harriers manager Russ Penn about going there full time, and it was a tough decision because I had the emotional attachment to Alan and Darlow, and they were top.
And you just set up your business.
Just set up my business. Everything were kind of going.
Yeah.
I was skipping into work, skipping to football, and it was just all like, I had a big smile on my face, really happy, and it was a decision to be like, do I get back in bed with full-time football and have those pressures again, or do I stay comfortable? Then the offer came, and financially it were better than what I were on, and all those factors played into it. But the top and bottom of it was I had the love for football back, and this was a professional football. And again, I go on about him because he is like a role model. But I spoke with Dunks, I spoke with my dad, and they were like, it's full-time football again. You're 28-year-old, who knows what it can lead to.
Go
it's
and roll
a fantastic
the dice.
football.
Go and roll
club.
the dice, yeah.
You can still, you know, you've been so supportive with me and said, Joe, we can help you with your business. Go and do it. It's full-time football. I don't care what level it is. You play football every day. Don't care how far away it is. You know, it's a fantastic football club. And I went down, met Russ, and straight away I knew I'd made the right decision.
Good guy.
Fantastic guy, fantastic assistant manager, Jimmy O'Connor. The group's fantastic. I've really enjoyed my time there until I got bloody cropped New Year's Day, which is going to leave me out till about April.
Was you playing well?
Yeah, playing well. Again, skipper got injured, and you know, being there 4 weeks, Gaffer's trusted me with the armband live on TV, and got my mojo back. I'm in love with football again at the minute. I can't wait to get back playing with it, and I do think that I've gone full circle probably twice. I've gone from loving football to hating football to I'm loving football again. And like I said at the beginning of the podcast, football's always been precious in my life. I know that I've probably got another good 6 years of playing in me, and I don't want to waste any time now. I want to play football league again, possibly. I want to play as high as I can, and whether that's with Kidderminster Harriers, I want to play professional football now until I retire, and I've got the bug back, and I don't want to lose it again. But I do feel like the bug's back, the mentality's right now, because I've kissed a few frogs and I've had a few drama tantrums myself, and I feel like I'm in a good headspace now with football. The business is growing. It's coming, and that's me. That's how it's been. And that's what I want to move forward with now.
No, it's good. It's really good, Joe. I think in terms of that story in itself, we've probably had at least a good hour there talking, but there'll be a lot of people who watch that and will pick out, actually, it's not all about glory, scoring the winning goal, bending the ball in the top corner. You know, it's not all. There's so much more. It sounds cheesy, this, but all these experiences build your resilience, and it's life experiences. Your experiences have been in football, but you've had to go through them. And in terms of you doing what you're doing with resilience, talking to young people, going in as part of the aftercare programs, some will listen, some will be in the mindset of, oh, I don't need to hear this. And you get that.
Yeah, of course. I think the big aim for me, and the reason why I set it all up, is I don't want to be a YouTuber. I don't want to be someone that goes in and people have like, oh, look at this. I've played a handful of games in League Two. I've played Conference North pretty much all my career. I'm not I'm not a superstar, but what I want to kind of do with the story is it's relevant to a heck of a lot of people.
Yeah.
And the knockbacks that people will get in football, we see it all the time from 16, 17, 18s, 21s, 24s. Everyone's will get rejection, and it's about dealing with it. And the whole point of resilience is we're going to be going out into football clubs, we're going to be going out into schools, to colleges, to people that are going to America, to help, to all over the place. It doesn't just have to be football. It's about trying to help, and if anybody can take anything from it, you know, there might be only 10 people that watch this podcast, but if one person watches it and goes, skip to that arrogant bit there, oh yeah, I get it now.
It's not personal.
No, if someone can take something out, and that's it. If I do a chat to 20 scholars, you know, 19 of them are probably thinking what they want for dinner.
I think you'll be surprised. I think you'll be surprised because I think a lot of people, and a lot of young people in particular, will listen to you because you are Joe Leasley, ex-professional, and you've got a story to tell, and it is compelling. And I've sat here and expecting to do this interview for 30 minutes, and we're probably an hour and 10 minutes deep or wherever we're at. But don't be surprised about the reaction that both this podcast and your business is going to have. I know the feedback I've had from the work in Notts County, and I've met with the Doncaster Rovers this morning. It's good. So grab it, run with it, and just see where it takes you. Because I think it's needed in the market, and actually in a society which is all about technology, screens, and people getting home from school, young kids going on computer games. I don't want to go on a tangent here, but the more of this we can do, the more of the lived experiences we can talk about, will help share those kind of stories with young people who are maybe struggling with mental health and not getting picked or being dropped or having leg in a brace. And I think it's important, mate.
I know, and I appreciate that, and I think, obviously, just to kind of conclude things now, that's the final episode of the podcast. What resilience will look like over the next 6 months is we're going to roll out a lot of schemes, a lot of different initiatives that we're going to be trying, and we're going to be going into football clubs, and we want to grow it as quick as we can, and we want to do as much as we can. But obviously support from outside is needed, you know, people liking and sharing, and so we can get as much ears and as much eyes on it, as much as we can do. But ultimately, we've got a little mini platform here now, and I want to try and get across as much, you know, of the story as we can, as much people, as much ears and much eyes on it as we can, and hopefully we come back in 12 months' time or in 6 months' time, and it's growing and growing. I will do a season 2 to the podcast, but it's going to be a season 2 roving camera where we're going to be going out into football clubs and delivering talks and speaking to people, and it'll just be a bit of a day in the life of Joe Leasley on his resilience, and I want to take you along with me on that, so again you can see where we're going and what we're doing with it. But I want to say a massive thank you to all the guests that came on the podcast, from Ben Parker, James Belshaw, John Buckley, Jordan Burrows, Toby Sims, and then a massive thanks to Mark. He lets me use the studio every time I want to use it. He gives me the support work of Ollie and Sarah through doing the media team. Duncan's been very supportive as well, and I think giving me that platform to do it has been a massive help. So thank you very much, and you've come on today, mate, and you've done great. Thank you very much. Remember, like, subscribe, and let's try and get as many eyes and ears on it as possible. Cheers, guys.